"This is not your place. Get out." The words sliced through the marble lobby, sharp and unmistakably public. What escaped the notice of the manager at the desk and the guests' feigning indifference was that the man they sought to overlook would command the room in mere moments, for true power remains silent. It lingers, quiet and unwavering, until the time arrives to utter its words, and when it finally does, the world transforms. Should you hold faith in dignity rather than arrogance, and in the subtle strength that transforms the narrative, do hit subscribe, tap like, and share your location in the comments below. These narratives do more than amuse. They serve as a poignant reminder of what genuine power embodies. Let us return to the pivotal moment when a seemingly ordinary check-in transformed into a reckoning that the whole world would behold. At precisely 10:42 a.m., within the opulent atrium of the Astoria Crown Hotel in Midtown Manhattan, 10 chandeliers, yet an absence of humility. Richard Hale, the general manager, positioned himself behind the front desk, arms crossed and chin held high. His voice remained steady. It resonated deliberately, ensuring that every guest in the room could catch its sound. Resonant enough to reverberate with the essence of the man he addressed, a man of African descent clad in charcoal joggers, a snug turtleneck, and well-worn leather boots. There is no watch. There is no briefcase. Only a solitary carry-on accompanied him, and his expression revealed a familiarity with the journey ahead. That individual was known as Elijah Cart. In precisely 20 minutes, he would dismiss every individual positioned behind the counter. Yet, in that moment, he remained silent. There was no dispute. Showed no sign of hesitation. He met Gregory's gaze, steady and composed, as if measuring the weight of silence against the intricacies of strategy. "Security's on their way," Gregory remarked, a smirk playing on his lips this time. One cannot simply stroll in from the street and assert ownership of a penthouse. Here, things don't operate in that manner. The atmosphere in the room transformed. A woman in heels by the elevator halted, caught in a moment of stillness. A bellhop paused, the tray teetering precariously in his grasp. From the shadows of a velvet sofa, a teenager gradually lifted her phone, the red light glowing, capturing the moment. Elijah surveyed his surroundings, taking in each look, each murmur that floated through the air. This was not the inaugural instance. Gregory was not the first man. At the age of 27, Elijah found himself unceremoniously removed from a conference panel. He was set to take the stage as the main act, a decision made in light of security considerations. He held the title of the AV guy. At the age of 34, he found himself at a luxury car showroom, where the staff coldly declined to unlock the vehicle he had come to buy, instructing him instead to return at a later time, accompanied by a genuine purchaser. At the age of 42, he finds himself in a hotel constructed on land that his company played a pivotal role in financing. The familiar tale resurfaced once more, various factions, yet a shared disdain. "Sir, I implore you to depart before the situation escalates." Once more, Gregory spoke, the voices resolute, now embodying the role of a manager before an audience, where humiliation is often confused with the adherence to protocol. Elijah's fingers remained firmly clasped around the handle of his bag. He refrained from reaching for his ID, failed to present credentials. He remained motionless, a silent figure in the stillness, grounded, calculated, anticipating. "Before we proceed, may I ask where you are tuning in from? Please share your city or country in the comments below. If you hold a belief in dignity and justice, consider hitting like and subscribing. These narratives ignite transformation. We are truly delighted by your presence. Let us return to Elijah, the instant preceding the tempest. As the last echoes of the bell faded into silence, Elijah Cart made his entrance. Without any grand gestures, valid drop-off is not available. A serene passage through the revolving door, followed by a tranquil stroll across the lobby floor. The wheels of his suitcase glided silently. His boots made scarcely a sound. Yet, with each step, the tranquility of the space was disrupted, for he was more than merely a visitor. He was an upheaval. He donned no labels. There is no coat tailored to fit. There is an absence of visible wealth. a simple yet elegant fitted charcoal turtleneck, pants designed to flow with his every movement, and a carry-on that had traversed continents. From his vantage point behind the counter, Gregory had observed him the instant he entered, not due to Elijah's insistence on being noticed. Yet, he chose not to. A man who entered the realm of luxury with unwavering confidence, that stirred an itch within Gregory. Elijah made his way to the front desk. "I am reaching out to touch base. My name is Brooks." Elijah Cart. Gregory remained expressionless, failed to lift my gaze completely. Merely inscribed. Gradually, intentionally, the penthouse has been reserved. His voice wrapped around the word as if it were a piece of overripe fruit. Indeed. At last, Gregory turned his gaze toward him. Truly observed, a brief shadow of unease passed over his features, swiftly concealed by the process. "I must request to see your identification, the card that you utilized." Elijah relinquished both items, without a moment's doubt, only serene understanding. Gregory grasped the ID delicately between his fingers, as if it were something that could leave an indelible impression. His gaze swept over the card, then came the man. And then, once more, a return. It was at that moment that everything began, the transition, the postponement that had nothing to do with technology. It held a personal significance. With a few deft taps on the keys, Gregory initiated his task. Scowled, knocked once more, then, with a subtle shift, leaned slightly to the side. Beside him stood a junior staffer, a young woman by the name of Heather, just shy of 22, striving to maintain composure. He murmured softly. Yet another false assertion of a penthouse. Heather remained silent. In a fleeting moment, I blinked once and remained motionless. Gregory inched nearer to Elijah. An error appears to have occurred. The room has been allocated already. Elijah raised an eyebrow, merely a touch. By whom was it assigned? "I am uncertain, sir. It seems you may have misunderstood your reservation. Perhaps you found yourself at the incorrect hotel." Elijah remained still. That phrase was familiar to him. At the age of 19, within the vibrant city of Chicago, I have submitted my application for a leadership program. He was informed that he was too early in his career, despite having met the necessary criteria, each necessity. At the age of 31, seeking to secure a workspace for lease, inquired whether he was part of the catering team. At this moment, here we stand, at the age of 42, the narrative returns once more. Attired uniquely, valued in the millions, there remains a lingering uncertainty regarding the entry. He let out a single breath, leisurely, regulated. "I reserved the room using a corporate tier. I believe my name deserves a place on your VIP list." Gregory made no effort to feign a check. He returned the ID, more challenging than it needs to be. "A complication has arisen regarding the verification process. Please take a moment to wait over there." He gestured toward a modest bench positioned by the window, the type favored by travelers, rather than business professionals. Guests started to cast their eyes in that direction. A pair halted in their discourse. A whisper floated through the air. "Is there an issue at hand?" Gregory elevated his voice just a touch. Silence from those who listened too closely. "Esteemed sir, kindly step aside while we verify your details." Elijah cast his gaze downward. Not from a place of shame. Yet, the act of calculation, then, with a sense of calm. "Are you absolutely sure you wish to pursue this path?" Gregory's smile remained superficial, failing to illuminate the depths of his gaze. "I have no doubt that this hotel reserves its penthouse keys for those who possess more than just tales to tell." At that moment, Heather lifted her gaze, only for a fleeting instant. Silence enveloped her, yet her eyes conveyed it all. She had caught sight of the name. She recognized him instantly, and at this moment, she observed her manager resolutely commit to the gravest error of his professional life. Just as Heather's gaze drifted, Gregory seized the house phone. "Welcome to the front desk. A security presence is required in the lobby," he uttered. He didn't even bother to lower his voice. Elijah listened intently. All did. "There are no threats present." There was no elevation in tone. Yet, he was still regarded as a risk. A disagreement with a guest, Gregory remarked. It could potentially be a fraudulent booking. The words transcended mere verification. Their essence revolved around humiliation. Elijah remained still. He cast a fleeting look at his phone, discovered the lock screen. He then tucked it away into the folds of his coat. He had no intention of engaging in a dispute. He had arrived to validate a particular truth. Through the expanse of the lobby, a woman clad in a navy pantsuit leaned in toward her husband, her voice a mere whisper. He hasn't uttered a single word that could be deemed incorrect. A family at the coffee bar halted, their bites suspended in midair. The lobby, once alive with light conversation and warmth, now throbbed with an unmistakable tension. Heather moved subtly behind the desk. "I can verify the system if..." With a dismissive wave, Gregory interrupted her. "I have it in my grasp." Yet he did not, and Heather was acutely aware of it. Yet, she remained silent, nevertheless. And then, Marcus arrived, the guardian of safety, lofty and robust. In the twilight of their 40s, former military stance, he emerged from the elevator alcove, a weighty radio clip pressed against his chest. It appeared as though he had witnessed this scene unfold on numerous occasions. With a fluid motion, Gregory gestured, his confidence evident in every movement. "There he is. Refused to yield. Presented me with a questionable identification. He asserts that he is a VIP." Marcus remained silent. "I have just embarked on the journey of walking." Elijah remained motionless, unfazed. The suitcase remained steadfastly by his side, his hands nestled within the confines of his coat pockets. "Fear not, just silence." Marcus made his way forward. "Sir, I kindly request that you relocate to the seating area while we work to resolve this matter." Elijah's voice resonated softly, a gentle murmur that seemed to linger in the air. "Regulated. Why am I being regarded as a threat?" Marcus blinked, his eyelids fluttering momentarily in surprise. The reply he received was far from what he had anticipated. "No one mentioned a threat. Please ensure your compliance." "What is there to comply with?" "Remaining quiet as your manager amplifies a trivial matter." Marcus cast a fleeting glance at Gregory. Then, it was back to Elijah. "It need not be intricate. It is already so." A moment lingered. And then, the camera captured the moment with a decisive click. "A visitor. In the twilight of my 20s. Obsidian, a hoodie, beanie, cradling a Canon DSLR. His lens immortalized the moment. Silence prevails, only the truth. Beside him, a white couple observed with palpable unease. The woman murmured, "This is not right." Gregory pivoted with a sudden intensity. Capturing images is prohibited in this lobby. Yet the camera remained elevated. Heather appeared as though she wished to vanish into thin air. "Esteemed sir," Marcus reiterated, his tone more resolute this time. "Kindly make way, or I shall be compelled to guide you along." At long last, Elijah made his move. "Not returning. Proceed, only a single step." Then, serene as the pull of the earth, a call to security is made regarding a guest who has presented verified identification, displayed no attitude, and he maintained a calm demeanor. The narrative unfolds in this very moment. Gregory let out a derisive laugh. "Do you believe this pertains to race? Is that the game you choose to play?" Elijah blinked slowly, a single flutter of his eyelids. "I am not engaged in any game. I find myself here, in this moment. You are the one performing." Heather let her pen slip from her grasp. Across the lobby, a growing number of guests started to retrieve their phones. Refrain from making any calls. To record, to behold, Gregory observed, and intensified the commitment. "Your actions are causing a delay in operations. Real guests are eagerly awaiting your presence." That line breaks through something profound. Emerging from the shadows of a luggage trolley, a man clad in a gray peacoat elevated his voice. "He is an invited presence." I observed him relinquish it all. Gregory stood still, caught in a moment of disbelief. Elijah remained still. He simply chose not to. The room was in a state of flux. Elijah Cart maintained a calm demeanor, his voice steady and unwavering. He remained still, demonstration or beseech. He stood there, as if time itself had decelerated, with the chaos fading into mere background noise. Marcus, the security officer, lingered in a state of uncertainty. He navigated the storm of irate guests, clients with a sense of entitlement, confrontational imbibers. Yet this man did not present himself as an issue. He advanced with the weight of an impending judgment. Gregory remained agitated, striving to assert his dominance with nothing but loudness. "This is straightforward. If you do not depart at this moment, I will be compelled to have you removed for trespassing." He broke. The term trespass resonated with weight, akin to the strike of a gavel, boisterous and misguided. Yet, Elijah remained silent. Not for Gregory, not for Marcus. He shifted his gaze, directing it subtly toward Heather. Maintained her gaze, composed and diplomatic. "Have you come across my name in the system?" Heather stood still, her body rigid. The others in the room were embroiled in a heated debate about identity. He inquired of the sole individual privy to the reality. She paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "I certainly did. This morning, the list of IPs, a penthouse suite. The sentence required no punctuation. It was punctured." Gregory pivoted sharply in her direction. "Beg your pardon?" Heather took a deep breath and swallowed. "It exists. His name resonates. I beheld it." Elijah offered a single, deliberate nod. "My sincere gratitude." Then returned to silence. Marcus hesitated, shifting his stance ever so slightly, more of an observer than an enforcer now. From the lounge seating, a guest with silver hair murmured, "He knew." He had known it all along. Gregory endeavored to gather himself once more. "She is currently undergoing training. Lacks the means to verify any details. I will take a moment for self-reflection." Yet, the harm had already been inflicted. Heather had shattered the facade. Yet, Elijah had not even lifted a finger to accomplish it. In the corner, the man with the DSLR continued to capture the unfolding scene through his lens. From his post behind the concierge desk, a junior staff member, a young Asian man named Daniel Tran, observed quietly, his eyes wide with curiosity. His fingers lingered above the keyboard, suspended in a delicate balance between trepidation and insight. Elijah stood at the heart of it all, a silent ember flickering in the stillness. There shall be no raised voices, nor any sense of disgrace, only the truth. And in some inexplicable way, that posed a greater threat than any scene could. Gregory pivoted once more, in a state of desperation now. "You are creating quite the scene," Elijah responded, his voice steady. "You exist." And then, there was silence. Heavy with a Sharpie, infectious. A silence so profound that it compels all to acknowledge the true source of power. The phones remained operational. The recording continues to run. Now, the room had transcended mere observation. It bore down heavily. A child, with a gentle pull, grasped at her mother's coat across the lobby. "Mom, what makes them treat him that way?" The mother remained silent, yet she allowed her daughter to continue her search. Gregory extended his hand toward the house phone once more. Yet, on this occasion, his fingers lingered in the air. It was as though he had come to the profound understanding that he no longer held sway over this moment. Elijah surveyed his surroundings with a deliberate slowness. Calculated. Steadfast. Then, addressing the empty air, he began to speak. "Each space holds its own secret. And this one, it begins to articulate." The initial voice emerged from the plush armchair positioned beside the majestic grand piano. A woman in her early 60s, adorned with pearls that grace her neck, exuding an air of judgment through her poised posture. She cleared her throat and said, "Excuse me, I witnessed him presenting his ID along with a card. You didn't even take a moment to examine the system." Gregory's eyelids fluttered momentarily. He had not anticipated her arrival. A visitor clad in finely tailored cream slacks, savoring imported tea, defying the expected narrative. Yet, she found herself in the company of others. From behind the coffee kiosk, a man in his 30s, clad in a tourist jacket, took a half-hearted sip. With a latte cradled in his hand, he turned to his partner and exclaimed, "Do you really think they'd treat me like this if I strolled in wearing jeans and carrying a backpack?" A voice from the shadows whispered, "He's been quiet all along." Then, the second click resonated through the silence. It is not a camera, a device for communication. The teenager from earlier, clad in a black hoodie and sporting red AirPods, raised her phone high now, capturing the moment. With audacity. "Undoubtedly, I refuse to set this aside," she declared. "This is something everyone must witness." Gregory snapped, "You are in violation of hotel policy. This footage is private." Yet she remained unyielding. "The space is open to the public," she replied in a monotone, "and this is public discrimination." Heather appeared on the verge of tears. Elijah remained still, remaining in focus, still clutching silence as if it were a blade. A voice emerges, resonating with newfound depth. A man in his 52nd sits firmly near the concierge table, a tailored dark suit, exuding an air of business-class sophistication. "My profession revolves around the intricate dance of managing risk," he remarked. "I can assure you that what you've just escalated will have a financial impact on this hotel, much more than just a night in a room." Gregory's mouth parted, then fell silent. For the first time, his words started to elude him. Meanwhile, Daniel Tran, the junior staffer at the concierge desk, quietly accessed the internal guest log. His fingers danced swiftly, gaze lingered upon the rose. At that moment, he discovered it. Elijah Cart, corporate platinum, a penthouse suite, a 3-night block, compensation rendered prior to the service. He has yet to utter a word. Yet his lips did part, somewhat. And Elijah beheld it. A subtle acknowledgement, quiet, confidential, yet in harmony. A greater number of phones were now operational. The hushed focus of onlookers transforming into active contributors. Gregory attempted one final approach. "To all those documenting, you are mistaken. We are merely adhering to established procedures. You have not adhered to any of the guidelines," spoke the lady adorned in pearls. "He was profiled by you." The term profiled echoed with an intensity that felt disproportionate. It was not proclaimed with a loud voice, yet it shattered the chandelier-filtered air with a sound akin to thunder. Heather, her voice barely above a whisper and laced with a tremor, confessed. "I shouldn't have remained silent." Elijah inclined his head softly in her direction. "You chose not to remain silent," he uttered, not at the crucial moment. The gravity of that line hung heavily over all present. Once more, the teenager behind the camera broke the silence with their voice. "I am tagging each media account that I follow. This encapsulates the essence of what is often expressed when one asserts that it transcends mere shouting. It concerns the way they behave when they believe they are unseen." Daniel Tran lifted his gaze from the screen. His voice carried a hushed timbre, yet unwavering. "His name appears in the system." Gregory pivoted. "What is this?" Daniel Tran echoed. "Mr. Brooks. Elijah Cart, luxurious penthouse suite, confirmed and prepaid, corporate level, exclusive access of the highest caliber." The ensuing silence held no awkwardness. It was a moment of awakening, for now, the truth lay bare, no longer concealed. It was presented for all to see. In that space, the visitors, the attendants, the marble walls and vaulted ceilings appeared to exhale in unison. Yet, what of Elijah? He merely inclined his head, as though this were merely a fragment of the grand design. Just as the atmosphere began to change and the tide appeared to shift, the double doors behind the concierge swung open. It swung open with a forceful shove. A fresh silhouette materialized, lofty, golden-haired. A blazer so sharp it could cut through the air, a clipboard held firmly in one hand, contempt for the other. Victoria Langford, director of guest operations at the hotel. She strode with the certainty of a conclusion reached, and she articulated her thoughts with the finesse of a true wordsmith. What is truly unfolding in this moment? Gregory, feeling a wave of relief wash over him as he escaped the heat, gestured animatedly. The man, he declared, was unwilling to cooperate. He asserts that he secured the penthouse. Verification is absent. The staff has faced harassment, disruption among guests. Rebecca averted her gaze from Gregory. Her gaze fell upon Elijah. A single look, that sufficed, not due to her recognition of him. Yet, she chose not to. Without a suit, no concierge to guide the way, no luggage cart overflowing with prestige, merely a black man, isolated, mastery in hand, her gaze sharpened. "Sir," she stated with precision, "should there be any confusion regarding your reservation, I recommend addressing the matter with our legal department at this very moment. Please, I must insist that you take your leave." The lobby fell silent once more. No gasp, a mere alteration in the atmosphere. The instant when individuals come to understand that someone is selecting the misguided battleground to stake their claim, Elijah remained still. Rebecca advanced with measured intent. She softened her voice, creating an intimate atmosphere. "You've crafted quite the spectacle. This is an opulent venue. This is not a platform for protests." From the seating area, the man in the business suit quietly remarked that she hadn't even bothered to check his name. The phone of the teenager continued to capture every moment. And lo, he stood there resolutely. "Miss Langston." He spoke, his voice quivering yet resolute. "Mr. Brooks has been recorded in our system. I have verified it. Sky-high abode, 3 nights. Approval at the corporate level." Rebecca pivoted with a sudden intensity. "Alas, that is not where you belong." "Yet, it is indeed," he responded, "due to its monochromatic nature. Here it is." He gestured toward the screen. What remains absent is the respect that ought to have accompanied it. Heather lifted her gaze from the cluttered surface of her desk, gaze unblinking. Elijah remained silent, not for lack of words to share. The room began to articulate his unspoken thoughts. Rebecca's gaze darted toward Gregory. Then we returned to Elijah. "The words on the screen hold no significance for me," she uttered. "Your actions do not reflect our core principles. Your actions are causing discomfort among others." The woman adorned in pearl stood gracefully. "That is not accurate." She spoke. "Yet another man. Zip up the tourist jacket now. Incorporated. In this bustling lobby, he stands out as the epitome of calmness." Rebecca elevated her voice just a touch. "I am engaged in conversation with a guest. He transcends the role of a mere guest. Alas, interrupted. He is included on the executive client list. He is known within corporate circles. Should you peruse the system audit log, his reservation was marked for attention immediately after Gregory took a look at it." Gregory's lips parted. But alas, it was not finished. Yet, it had not been flagged previously. That sentence fell to the ground with a force greater than that of a shattered wine glass. The phones remained operational. The DSL, or man, focused in more closely. Rebecca's lips sealed in silence. At last, Elijah found his voice. His voice resonated with a hushed timbre, sharp and exact. "This is the standard by which your hotel measures its values. In just a matter of moments, you will find yourself facing a significant dilemma." Rebecca let out a brief laugh. Acute, indifferent. "Are you implying a threat towards me?" "Absolutely not," Elijah spoke. "I am here to inform you." Stillness. Then he proceeded to add, "You've repeated the same error once more. However, the second one, you created it in the presence of witnesses." Rebecca remained unblinking, absent from the phones, not at the murmurs, not at the swell of gazes observing her come apart in the moment. Rather, she cast her gaze toward Marcus, the guardian of safety, and spoke with a chilling precision. "Eliminate him." At this moment, Marcus paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. His feet remained still. "I declared," Rebecca echoed. "Amplify your voice. Evict him from this premises." Without delay, Elijah remained unyielding. He regarded Marcus not with defiance, yet with clarity, a clarity that speaks volumes. "You are under observation as well." Then there was Gregory, in a final display of contrived supremacy, emerging from the shadows of the desk. He extended his arm swiftly. Sloppy seized the handle of Elijah's carry-on with a firm grip and pulled it with force. The suitcase scraped along the marble floor, an unwelcome presence in its polished surroundings. Gregory let it fall at Marcus's feet. There it is. He marked him with his possessions. He has reached the end. Elijah's gaze trailed after the suitcase, now marred and askew. His voice held a steady cadence. Your hands have merely touched someone else's belongings, for no reason at all. In the absence of consent, and devoid of legal authority. Gregory curled his lip in disdain. You are fortunate. That is the extent of my contact. A breath caught in the throat of the woman adorned with pearls. Heather withdrew from her post. Cover her lips with a hand. Daniel Tran's face lost all its color. Even the brightness of Rebecca's smile dimmed just a fraction. Across the expanse of the lobby, the young filmmaker murmured softly into her device. He seized his bag. In an instant, as if he possessed him entirely. Suddenly, there was a brilliant flash, captured through the lens of a DSLR. Then another phone came to life on TikTok. Next, another one on Instagram. The silence of the room had dissipated. It was electrified. And then, silently, Elijah lowered himself into a crouch. He grasped the bag with a deliberate motion. He brushed the scuff away with his sleeve, rose once more, standing taller than ever. Not merely in stature, and presence, and intention. He surveyed his surroundings, his gaze drifting beyond Gregory and Rebecca. Yet, with every guest observing, you amplified a scenario that was never real. You reached for that which was not yours to claim. And now, he took a moment to pause. Your last error has been committed. Rebecca's voice cut through the air sharply. Your perception of reality is quite distorted. Yet, Elijah chose to disregard her. He retrieved his phone from his pocket. With a swift motion, it was unlocked. Gently tapped once. The phone rang twice, subsequently. Indeed, sir. A whisper of sound. Serene, expert, woman, Carla, Elijah remarked. Commence Protocol 5. A single beep echoed through the silence. Affirmative, Mr. Brooks. The internal trace is already in operation. The comprehensive system logging is currently in progress. Gregory's eyelids fluttered momentarily. Rebecca squinted, her gaze sharpening with intent. What is this protocol? Elijah cast his gaze upon her. Silence, acute. The entity that meticulously documents each prejudiced act and associates it with your employment history in real time. A stillness, more profound than stone, enveloped the air. Rebecca's jaw tightened in a silent display of tension. You're merely putting on a facade. Yet, concealed behind the concierge desk, Daniel Tran inhaled sharply. He observed the glow of his own screen illuminating the room. A crimson banner flickered to life. Executive override activated in audit mode. Gregory cast a glance in his direction. What on earth is that? Daniel Tran remained silent, for the simple reason that he was unable to do so. The system had slipped from their grasp. From the cafe counter, a woman wearing glasses whispered softly. He's speaking the truth. He has been meticulously preparing for this moment all along. Elijah tucked his phone away into the folds of his coat. Then, with a measured grace, he turned to face Rebecca. You have laid your hands upon my name, my reputation, and now my possessions. Next, we turn our attention to Gregory. And you accomplished it all in the open. Marcus, the vigilant security officer, took a step back. He felt an overwhelming urge to distance himself from the impending events. Elijah advanced a single, tentative step. Serene, focused. Mortally serene. You desired a grand display, he remarked. Behold the embodiment of justice. Once more, Carla's voice emerged. This time, with a newfound clarity. More constricted, Mr. Brooks. Full trace has been activated for all interactions among hotel staff over the past 45 minutes. Pattern of voice alignment. Synchronization of surveillance. The guest witness proximity logs are now officially active. Rebecca stiffened. What could this possibly be? Whom do you think you are calling? Elijah averted his gaze from her. He was already in motion, ceasing to walk, affirming. He moved behind the front desk to the spot Gregory had claimed as his own, setting his phone down flat on the polished marble counter. The guests leaned in, captivated by the unfolding narrative. Devices trailed in his wake. Heather and Daniel Tran both instinctively stepped back, parting like the ebb and flow of the tides. Elijah pressed the speaker icon with a deliberate touch. Carla's voice resonated throughout the lobby. Gregory Mattson has been flagged for an unauthorized profile override. Victoria Langford, documented as a participant in verbal misconduct and unlawful detainment protocol. Gregory's voice trembled. Beg your pardon? Carla pressed on, undeterred. Marcus Cole. Security is under review, yet remains in alignment with protocol compliance. Rachel Kim identified as the first responder to the mistreatment of a guest. Yet she did not take action. Heather's eyes grew wide with surprise. I made an attempt. Elijah raised a hand, pausing the moment. Soft. This is not a matter of retribution. It revolves around the concept of accountability. Then, with greater resolve. Carla. Commence the synchronization of the silent witness. Affirmative, Carla responded. The facial ID of all guest observers has now been meticulously mapped to the incident archive, compiling consent data through proximity. Rebecca clutched the edge of the counter as if it were a lifeline. A steadfast point in a world that felt unsteady. This is not permissible. Our system cannot be overridden. Yet, Daniel Tran subtly angled his monitor in her direction. It now reads, at the executive level, the compliance bridge for Brooks Enterprise is currently active and under override. His lips parted, revealing a world of unspoken thoughts. He is not merely pretending, it is indeed real. The back end of his company has now assumed complete command. Gregory advanced, as if fury could erase the vulnerability laid bare before him. You believe you can simply stroll in here, act like a tech deity? And Elijah interrupted him. I did not enter with the intention of playing anything. I entered to confirm my reservation for the suite I had paid for, the remainder. He made a slow, deliberate gesture. You accomplished that. At the distant corner of the lobby, the teenager with the phone murmured into her live feed. He turned the tables. It is now his to claim everything. Then came a chomp, resounding, acute, from the terminal at the front desk. Heather's screen flickered to life. Initiate the 5-stage protocol to engage the active system lock. She inhaled sharply. It simply came to a standstill. Access is currently unavailable to all users. Carla affirmed via the speaker. The front desk systems are currently inaccessible, awaiting an executive review. All information pertaining to guests, assignments for rooms, the internal logs and audit trails have now been mirrored to the Brooks Secure Cloud Compliance database. Rebecca's voice faltered. Such an action is not permitted. This does not belong to you. Next, it was Elijah's moment to shine. Tranquil. Unambiguous. Negative. This edifice is bound by a long-term management agreement with Brooks Holdings. Your system operates within the framework of our architecture. The compliance department of your organization reports to ours. A solitary beep echoed through the silence. Subsequently, and I am your vigilant observer. The room remained silent. There was no necessity for it to do so. The silence spoke volumes. Gregory retreated from the desk. Rebecca gazed at the elevators. As if they held the promise of salvation, the sound of Carla's voice. One last time. Mr. Brooks, would you like to move forward with the escalation review? Elijah let out a breath. Then, with a gentle tap, the mic was summoned to life. Commence the 3rd stage. A subtle change swept through the lobby, altering the atmosphere, not from motion, from revelation. Gregory stepped back, pausing for a moment. Eyes flickered toward the front entrance, as if the possibility of escape lingered in the air. Rebecca's jaw tightened, a silent battle raging within her. as if she were stifling a scream that found no escape. Heather stood motionless, her lips parted, gaze unblinking, observing a truth she had long suspected now descend with a storm's fury. Elijah found himself at the very heart of the unfolding scene, remaining poised, remaining steadfast, and then, in a calm and measured tone, he uttered a few words. "Elijah Cart is the name I bear." A moment of stillness. Intentional, creator, and the chief executive officer of Brooks Holdings Group. The silence descended, crisp and unyielding. In this city, we proudly present a collection of 14 exquisite luxury properties. With a courageous gaze, he surveyed the lobby at a leisurely pace. It stands as one among them. A moment lingered, then yet another. In that moment, the room let out a breath, not with disbelief, but with a sense of recognition. For the reason that it happened all at once. Everything fell into place. The tranquility, the exactness. The silence hung heavy in the air. Heather murmured softly, nearly in a whisper to herself. The name struck a chord of familiarity within me. Doran slumped into his seat, as if the very air had been drawn from his lungs. Gregory appeared unwell. Rebecca endeavored to regain her footing, stuttering. Surely, there must have been. A miscommunication has occurred. Had you merely revealed your identity? Elijah's eyes shifted toward her, so piercing it halts the very breath. Had I adorned my wrist with a Rolex? Entered accompanied by a driver? Or if you had presented a business card, would you have readily handed me the key? Silence reigned, as no one responded. He had no need for them to. Yet, I entered as my true self. Silence, obsidian, isolated, yet another moment of stillness. Subsequently, and you concluded that I was out of place. The words were not pronounced with volume, yet they fractured into countless pieces. The phones remained elevated. The teenager's live stream reached an impressive 6-digit milestone. The comment section overflowed with activity. He possesses the entirety of the establishment. His bag was touched by them. The stillness was never a sign of frailty. From the seating area, on the side, the sharply dressed man, who had observed it all, nodded slowly in acknowledgement. "Ah, I had a feeling I knew you from somewhere." The cover of Forbes, 2 years prior. This chain was revitalized following the collapse of 2020. Elijah offered the man a subtle nod. Rebecca, now, a shade of pallor, whispered under breath, "We were completely unaware." "That is precisely the essence," Elijah interjected, serene yet conclusive. "You regarded someone as inferior because you believed they were." Daniel Tran inclined his body. A gesture of intent and curiosity. The tremor in the voice. "Esteemed sir, I simply wish to express, I apologize." Elijah cast his gaze upon him, not with judgment, but with a weight far greater. "The truth revealed itself to you, and you articulated it. That holds significance." Then, his voice took on a different tone. "It is not cold, yet authoritative. What holds no significance is my current identity. It's the person you believed I could never be." Rebecca fell into a profound silence. Gregory remained silent. From the shadows of her presence, Heather cautiously stepped back from behind the desk, as though she were trying to distance herself from a ship that was going down. Chip. It was the first moment since Elijah had stepped into the lobby. He was left without oars. His name went unchallenged by all. His bag remained untouched by anyone. For the present moment, the truth loomed large and unmistakable. It began with a gentle pace. A solitary clap from the gentleman clad in a meticulously tailored gray suit by the concierge. Intentional. Unwavering. Then, yet another. From the woman in Pearl's grasp, resolute. Eyes glisten with moisture, the sort of applause that bears an air of contrition. Next, the couple at the coffee bar. Then there was the teenager broadcasting their life in real time. She continued to elevate her phone, its screen catching the light. Speaking into the microphone. They have just uncovered his true identity. Applause fills the air now. It is unfolding. In mere moments, the lobby erupted in a chorus of applause. Quiet, yet sharp, honorably, the room seemed to be extending an invitation for atonement. Gregory's gaze flitted among the guests. The devices of communication, the applause returned to Elijah. "No one suggested that your race played a role in this matter," he murmured feebly. Elijah pivoted. "Gently. You needn't have done that." Gregory's shoulders drooped, heavy with unspoken burdens. Rebecca inhaled unsteadily. In her grasp, the clipboard quivered with a subtle unease, fingers pale from their hold. She remained oblivious to all of it. She faltered in her speech. "Had corporate chosen not to inform us?" "The corporate entity took action," Elijah responded. The email was dispatched several days prior. Title of the message: Protocol for the Arrival of CEO, Elijah Cart. VIP edition. Daniel Tran's eyes grew wide. "I recall having witnessed that," he murmured softly. Rebecca's eyelids fluttered momentarily, enveloped in stillness. "You observed it yet failed to associate the name. I never imagined it could possibly be him." Daniel Tran responded with candor. "He entered the room by himself, without an entourage. No flash allowed." "Humility prevails," Heather spoke gently. Gregory advanced with purpose. The color had faded from the face. "Mr. Brooks, should we have a conversation about this in private?" "Negative." Elijah's reply sliced through the air with precision. "This has been made public. Now, may the repercussions be equally apparent." Subsequently, "Carla, you're on speaker now. Commence Phase 4. Commence the immediate evaluation of staff performance." Carla's voice echoed back, unruffled and poised. "As always, comprehended. Commencement of termination logs and formal audit proceedings." In the beginning, there was a line: Richard Hale. Secondly, Victoria Langford. Access to the building has been revoked in a mere 3 minutes. Gregory faltered, his steps unsteady. Surely, this cannot be the conclusion. Elijah's gaze ensnared him. It concludes in the same manner every time. When pride eclipses honor, Rebecca advanced with purpose, extending one's hand, yet not towards Elijah. However, regarding the counter, the instant, anything to grasp firmly. It is unacceptable to dismiss employees in the presence of guests. In that case, you ought to have refrained from attempting to bring about such humiliation. A silence descends. The kind that arises not from fear but from a place of clarity. Heather took off her name badge, silently, strolled around the desk, and took a place beside Elijah. "I'm not requesting to retain my position," she uttered. "I am requesting that we take the appropriate action at this moment. For in silence lies the acquiescence. And I can send it for an extended duration." Elijah cast his gaze upon her. A pulse. He then nodded. "I shall hold that in my memory." In her wake, Daniel Tran powered off his monitor. He clasped his hands together. "I wish to initiate a transfer. Not out of a desire to depart, but from a yearning to expand my knowledge." Elijah's lips curled into a smile. "Merely a touch." "You shall." The phones remained operational. Guests are still in the process of recording. Yet, at this moment, no eyes were turned toward the unfolding drama. They found themselves in the midst of resolution. The stillness shattered with an enchanting allure. Concis. Virtual. Concluding, from the vantage point of the desk, Daniel Tran's screen flickered momentarily before succumbing to darkness. Heather's as well. Gregory whirled around to face it. Perplexed. What transpired? Elijah heard Carla's voice resonate through the device in his hand. Access to the front desk has been disabled. The credentials belonging to Richard Hale and Victoria Langford have been revoked. The employee's status has been terminated. Access badges will cease to function in 45 seconds. Rebecca's breath hitched. "You fail to grasp the situation. I have dedicated 15 years to this place." Elijah pivoted in her direction. Serene, unyielding. 15 years have imparted no lessons in humility to you. Gregory faltered and lurched ahead, extending a hand toward the system terminal. It emitted a crimson beep. Permission, not granted. You lack the necessary authority. I establish the authority, Elijah remarked. A voice sliced through the air of the room. Brick by agreement. One server at a time, one by one. Rebecca cast her gaze in Marcus's direction. Take action, yet Marcus had already retreated, with his hands clasped behind him. Impartial, honorable, I adhere to the established guidelines for property owners. The conclusion of my post brings about a transformation. With a gentle hiss, the lobby door glided open. 2 uniformed compliance escorts from the parent company strode in, clad in sleek black suits and adorned with earpieces. A serene embodiment of professionalism, one made their way toward Gregory. Sir, we shall be guiding you from the premises. Gregory gave a slight shake of his head, in a state of panic. This is utterly astonishing. I never agreed to endure such humiliation, yet you inflicted it upon another. A voice emerged from the crowd, belonging to the man in the gray suit. With her arms crossed, Rebecca cast a glance at Elijah. The voice trembles, a fleeting crack in its steady flow. One could have simply chosen to walk away. Release this burden. What lesson might that impart to you? The escorts advanced with purpose. Gregory's arms moved in a slight, erratic dance. Voice ascending. I am surrounded by individuals. I am acquainted with many individuals. Elijah locked eyes with him for one final moment. Share the events that unfolded. Present the footage to them. Allow them the opportunity to determine whether they still recognize you. Gregory was led softly toward the exit. Rebecca trailed behind, moving at a languid pace, not putting up any resistance, yet utterly bewildered. Her heels resonated against the marble, a sharp reminder of pride shattering in the air. The guests gracefully moved aside. Silence reigns in this moment. Only respect. A hushed stillness envelops the air. Heather glanced over at Elijah. Would you like us to reset the desk? Elijah gave a slight shake of his head. Negative. Allow it to rest. May the next manager step into this pivotal moment, and keep in mind. Daniel Tran lifted his gaze. Ought I to inform the regional HR? They have already been informed, Carla. Update on the current status. The sound of Carla's voice. The notice of termination has been dispatched. Access to the badge has been revoked. The incident report has been archived within the legal department, public relations, and systems of governance. The reputation review is set to commence in just 12 minutes. Elijah surveyed his surroundings. He finally settled into his position behind the front desk with a gentle grace. He refrained from taking a seat. He remained motionless, a silent figure in the unfolding scene. Fingers gently poised upon the cool marble surface. A man of African descent. In the midst of it all, there lies a sense of balance, fearless, clearly in command. At last, he was seen by all. Precisely as he appeared. Elijah moved on swiftly. He refrained from gloating. There was no smile. There will be no concluding remarks. With a measured gaze, he surveyed the lobby that was now entirely his. Heather gracefully moved to the side. Daniel Tran gave a single nod. The gentleman clad in the gray suit offered a discreet salute. For the first time, even the teenager with the live stream set her phone down. For they comprehended, the curtain had fallen on the performance. Yet, the lesson was only just unfolding. Elijah pivoted in the direction of the elevator. No sign of the bellhop yet. No assistant has arrived yet. He took it upon himself to press the button. The doors swung wide. He entered the room. Isolated, yet now, no longer hidden from view. The elevator doors slid shut in silence. And yet, it conveyed a profound message. Return to the lobby. The gravity of the events loomed heavily in the air. Not solely concerning Gregory's absence, not solely focused on Rebecca's decline. Yet upon every guest who had observed a black man in a state of tranquility. Serene, brilliance was regarded as a challenge until the force of power insisted on a different perspective. The woman adorned in pearls shifted her gaze toward the teenager. Could you share the video, please? The girl cast her gaze upon her. It is now live, instantly captivating. She cast a glance back at the elevator. He will forever be seen through a different lens. The woman gently shook her head. Negative. Perhaps they will also begin to see themselves in a new light. Beyond the confines of four walls, a sleek black SUV glided to a stop at the curb. Silence reigns, devoid of sirens. There is an absence of security. Moments later, Elijah emerged from the hotel, with a suitcase firmly grasped in hand. The driver swung open the rear door. Elijah was not admitted immediately. He raised his gaze upon the name etched in gold above the threshold, the brave and noble, then retreat. He recognized it without needing to glance at the name. It was unmistakably his. The world would echo its reminders, time and again, that he was an outsider. He had no need to remind it that he had done so. He just existed. As he entered the car, he departed, leaving in his wake a legacy far more potent than mere words. Evidence, beyond mere possession. Yet, there exists a sense of restraint. In silence, there exists a profound dignity. Of strength, unaccompanied by menace, justice, stripped of theatrics. And for all those observing in that lobby, or concealed behind the screen, the message was etched in stone. His voice rang out, yet they remained oblivious to his cries. They listened to him, for he never had to ask. Thus, we find ourselves at this moment. How about you? Before you continue your journey down the page, please provide a response to this inquiry. What actions would you have taken if you found yourself in that lobby? Share your reflections in the comments below. Should you hold faith in justice, with grace and honor, and in reimagining the perception of power, strike with precision. Press the share button. For Elijah is not the sole figure stepping into spaces where his presence seems unwarranted, yet he shall not be the final one to possess them. And we certainly won't be the last to witness his remarkable feat.